Ramayana, Chapter 4 The Demoness in the Forest. The deeper Rama and Lakshmana followed sage Vishwamitra into the forest, the more the world seemed to unravel. What had begun as a bright morning path soon turned into a haunted trail, dense with twisted roots, the scent of decay, and an eerie hush. No bird sang, no deer ran, even the trees looked gnarled, leaning inward as if whispering warnings. This, Vishwamitra said, his voice cutting through the silence, is Tataka's forest. He paused beneath a withered sal tree and began her story, not just of a monster, but of a fall from grace. Tataka had not always been a creature of terror. She was born to Suketu, a powerful Yaksha king who had longed for a child and finally received one by the blessing of Brahma himself. Tataka, from birth, was no ordinary woman. She was gifted with great strength, beauty, and the grace of celestial heritage. She grew up in the fragrant groves of Himalayas, married to the powerful Sunada, a warrior of renown, and bore a son, Maricha. But their happiness would not last. When Sunada defied the rishis and insulted the devas, he was struck down by sage Agastya's curse. Blinded by grief and rage, Tataka stormed into Agastya's ashram with Maricha at her side, demanding vengeance. But the sage saw only fury in her heart, not justice. With the power of his penance, he cursed her in return. Since you chose to act like a demon, so shall you become one. In that instant, her form twisted. Her nails grew into claws, her teeth into fangs, her eyes lost the light and turned blood red. She fled into the forest, her cries shaking the heavens. Over the years, Tataka lost what little remained of her former self. Her beauty faded, her soul blackened, and she became a predator of nightmares. She taught Maricha the same hate. They turned these secret woods into a land of fear. Villagers vanished, yajnas were defiled, sages fled, and no light had touched the heart of the forest in many years. Vishwamitra turned to Rama. Now, she stands between you and the protection of Dharma. Rama hesitated. But she was once good, and she's still a woman. Vishwamitra's face was kind but firm. Dharma is not bound by form. Her hands are soaked in blood. To protect the innocent, sometimes one must act with sorrowful resolve. Rama looked down at his bow. This was no longer a tale told in palace halls. This was a trial of spirit, a crossing from boyhood into destiny. He nodded. Suddenly, the forest trembled. A roar echoed through the hills like thunder. Birds scattered. Trees snapped as Tataka emerged. Massive, feral, eyes burning with madness. Her voice screeched like iron on stone. Her hair whipped like black fire as she hurled boulders towards the intruders. But Rama stood tall. He invoked the Agnyastra, the weapon of fire, whispered the mantra Vishwamitra had taught him, and loosened the arrow. The flame shot through the air and struck Tataka in her chest. She screamed, half agony, half memory, as if some forgotten part of her still longed for her past life. And then, silence. The earth stilled, light pierced the clouds, the curse had ended. Vishwamitra placed a hand on Rama's shoulder. Today, you upheld Dharma, you saw beyond illusion and acted with righteousness. That night, under a starlit sky, Vishwamitra gave them more than rest. He gifted them celestial astras, the Vayavya Astra, the wind weapon, the Varuna Astra, summoning water, and the Brahmastra, known only to the wisest. He also began teaching them ancient mantras that linked warrior to cosmos, mind to purpose. Rama and Lakshmana absorbed everything. This journey was no longer just about protecting rituals. It was the beginning of a far greater destiny. In the forest, for the first time in years, slept in peace.